And the winner is the Sopranos.
Sopranos.
My mother was sort of the model for Livia Soprano. And I used to tell people stories about my mother and the things my mother said and did. And everyone I knew, my wife, first of all, said, like, someday you have to write about her because she's hysterical.
And I tried to pitch that as a movie with Robert De Niro and Anne Bancroft. And there wasn't much interest. And my agent told me, forget about it. Mob comedies are going nowhere.
Movie idea was this mid-level guy in the mob is having problems with his mother and has always had problems with her. And he puts her in a nursing home and she becomes very bitter against him and he begins to see a therapist because of that.
I was thoroughly fed up and disgusted with network television. I was like 54 years old or something. And I thought, you know what? If it doesn't work, it doesn't work.
Before it, particularly the first season, you know, you'd get these scripts, you'd look around and the grips would be reading it and laughing and, you know, everybody understood that this was special.
I thought it should be a tougher guy, harder, tougher than I am. And it came to me that a mafia guy, because it would be Italian and all that.
I really thought that they would pick someone, you know, different than I. You know, a suave, good-looking mafioso guy. You know, just somebody a little more leading man type, basically. Got the script and I remember reading it and I was laughing out loud. And actually one of the auditions, halfway through or in the middle of it, I said, no, I'm not doing this right. I'm not doing this right. I didn't prepare for this right. I'm not doing it right. And I don't want to do it anymore. And I want to come back and do it for you again. And they said, oh, okay. And they let me leave and let me redo it and come back.
Yeah, and he came to my house in my garage and we taped the audition and he did it. But I mean, I heard he was famous for that, for saying, this is shit, I can't do this. But once we saw that audition, it was like, gee, the whole thing. Obviously, there was no question.
Jim said to me, I think I'd get really angry about that, don't you? I mean, I think I'd like grab him and just about smash his head. And when he did it, I saw Tony Soprano. That's what I mean. I needed to be reminded that this was not a cuddly guy, that he has that aspect to him, but he also would kill you. And Jim, through his actor process, showed me that.
I said, but I told my agents, I don't want to play Carmela. They're like pulling out their hair. What do you mean? I said, I don't want to do that. I want to play Dr. Melfi.
I was busy. I was doing Oz. I had a million things on my mind. I had like 10 minutes to do the audition. I had to run so I just went in and left and just forgot about it. And the next day got the call that I'd gotten the part.
And then Godfather actually led to Sopranos first day. They were looking for somebody to play Uncle Jim. And Sheila said, there's a man who was in Godfather too. I don't remember his name, but he must be about the right age now. So that's how I got the audition.
I did like the role. I thought it was, you know, this young mobster, wannabe mobster who has aspirations to Hollywood and also has issues with drugs. David just has a poker face and it's hard to read him.
And finally he said, thanks a lot, and that was it. And I walked out of the room convinced that I blew it, convinced that I bored him to tears and that I wasn't going to get it.
So he calls and says, do you want to, you know, be in my new TV show? I said, thank you, but not really, no, you know. I'm not an actor. Yeah. And he said, yes, you are an actor. You just don't know it yet. Well, he originally had cast me as Tony Soprano. And HBO was like, are you out of your fucking mind? You know, this is the most expensive thing we've ever done. You're gonna have a guy who never acted before. So you can run the strip club for the family and be the consigliere and, you know.
I got a phone call an hour later from David Chase, who tells me, he says, I said, and he says, yeah, you got some bad news. You're not playing that character. He says, I got something in mind for you. An hour later, he calls me up and he says, you are Paulie Walnuts.
Did you ever go to jail? Yeah. How many times?
A few times.
What'd you do?
Armed robberies, taking off bookmakers. I was a crazy kid.
Tony would never let anybody work with his hair. Our hair people could never touch him.
He did his
He
own
would get
hair.
up at 5 o'clock in the morning at his house.
Hey, I got it covered. First thing I'm doing is getting wings in my hair. You know, like Paulie.
You know, a lot of times people say, I wish I got to meet James Gandolfini. Yeah. And I say, you know, you would have loved him. He was amazing. And people say, I wish I got to meet Tony Sirico. I go, you did. That's Tony Sirico. Like
100% right.
That is exactly Tony Sirico.
I tried it and went to the greatest acting school anyone will ever go to, which is called The Sopranos.
In the early days, I was sweating bullets. I didn't sleep. I didn't drink when I was shooting at all. I was like monastic. And I just wanted to get another episode.
You'll start Monday morning, usually 5:30, 6 o'clock, even earlier. You go 14 hours, and they can work you later on a Friday night. So Friday, you're usually there until 2, 3 in the morning. Sometimes we've seen the sun come up on Saturday.
I mean, our show went to, what did we go to, 17, 18 days a show. And those 18 days, I worked almost every day, like literally 14, 16 hours a day.
The words are just the tip of the iceberg. They're the tip of the iceberg. You had to make them real somehow.
Jim used to like to, like he would say to me, hey, let's go down a little, before the season started, he would say, let's go down to Little Italy, let's have dinner. I want to be around some guys.
Some of the things I'll use to get angry are lack of sleep will piss you off to no end. Sleep 2-3 hours a night for 2 nights before you have a really violent scene.
I've played a lot of addicts in my career. I've been addicted. I've had issues with addiction, without a doubt. Habituated certain behaviors, right? You just get into this. This is what we're doing.
Well, I had 2 psychiatrists in real life, and I stole from the both of them.
I basically took my relationship with Bruce Springsteen pretty much and, projected it to Sopranos, and David Chase, went along with the idea,
And I actually worked in a butcher shop owned by Paul Castellano. It's called CNS Meat Market, Castellano and Sons. I also worked at a card game run by Roy DeMeo. If I would have told my friends I wanted to be a screenwriter, they would have beat the shit out of you.
When I went to HBO, Chris Albrecht said, now you're going to really shoot this in New Jersey, right? It says Jersey, you're going to get Jersey? I said, yeah.
David was insistent, we're not doing this in New York just to get tax savings, because there was a tax credit break in New York. And it was like, no, we're good doing this stuff in New Jersey. While we were allowed to scout something in New York, or when it was like the Johnny Sack family, of course, that in New York, and that was New York a lot of the time. But mostly we had to be Jersey.
I think that David, wanted not a quaint or, cozy house for his mob boss. It was up on a hill, which made sense as far as tone. Like they always say, mobsters want to sit in with their back to the wall in the restaurant so they can see what's coming at them. And the builder of that house, who was the owner of the house, he said, no way are we letting you come back here, because it was a zoo and the security lights caused leaks in my roof that took me months to track down and fix. And I mean, it was like, this is not happening.
I said, I have this, this hitman, Silvio Dante, who has a club, and all the 5 families have tables, and it's kind of like a mafia version of Casablanca, So he went away a couple of days, came back, said, it's too expensive. HBO won't let me do it, but we'll do a strip club instead.
And it had a different name in the pilot. They changed it before we shot it, but in the first script, it was called The Final Lap.
Definitely a strip club. I'm not going to say it was sad up. There was a mob background, and, there was history there and public record.
I remember thinking, it's too good. It's not going to succeed.
There was a guy at another table who Tony Sirico knew, who I think was a member of the Colombo family, and he offered to teach me the real way to strangle somebody, but I never took him up on it.
And I'm walking down the block, a guy stops me, Rocky. He goes, hey, Steve, hey, come here. Look, I love the show, right? But anybody who ever whacked anyone, that's not how you do it.
Gandolfini got a call in the middle of the night, anonymous call. He never figured out who it was. He answers the phone, and the guy says, listen, we like what you're doing a really good job, but know one thing. A Don never wears shorts.
Oh, David Chase is a genius, no doubt about it. I mean, he broke every rule in the book. He completely rewrote the rules for TV.
He represents a high watermark certainly in TV history, and more so in the history of cinema.
And, in essence, this is a story about a gangster. And gangsters are out there taking their kids to college and taking their kids to school and putting food on their table. And hell, let's face it, if the world and this nation was run by gangsters, maybe it is.